Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Before going ahead, I just wanted to say a big thank you for showing so much love to my first video. You guys can even follow me on Instagram, INBD, Twitter. If you have any questions, please feel free to post in the comments section. I have posted some questions at the end of the video for you guys as well. Now let's move ahead and start with the first topic today, which is cyst. We have already discussed non-odontogenic cyst in my first video, and today we will be covering the odontogenic cyst. As I already mentioned in my last video, odontogenic means tooth related. Now let's move ahead and discuss some of the cysts that we will be covering under the odontogenic cyst. The few of the cysts I will be discussing today are the dentigerous cyst, odontogenic keratocyst or the OKC cyst, radicular cyst or the residual cyst, and the lateral periodontal cyst. Now, the first one is the dentigerous cyst. It develops by the separation of the follicle from around the crown of an unerupted tooth by accumulation of fluid between the reduced enamel epithelium and the tooth crown. Now, the dentigerous cysts are the second most common odontogenic cyst. The first common odontogenic cyst is the radicular cyst, and they are the most common developmental cyst of the jaw, and they are commonly seen in the age group of second and third decade of life. They are most commonly associated with the impacted teeth, and the most common one is the mandibular third molar, but they can also be seen with the maxillary third molars, maxillary canine, mandibular second premolars. Radiographically, they are observed as unilocular, well circumscribed radiolucent area around the crown of an unerupted tooth, and we can even call it as pericoronal radiolucency because it surrounds the coronal part of the tooth, means just the crown of the tooth, whereas in ameloblastoma or OKC, even the whole of unerupted tooth can be involved. Small cysts are asymptomatic, however, large cysts can cause painless bone expansion. Again, guys, small cysts are asymptomatic, large cysts are also asymptomatic, but they can be associated with the bone expansion as well. Displacement of the involved tooth and the adjacent teeth can be seen with dentigerous cyst or the follicular cyst. Root resorption can also occur. Now, in the dentigerous cyst, the treatment is enucleation, and the complications that can arise are the ameloblastoma and really the squamous cell carcinoma. And in the radiograph, you guys can see a pericoronal radiolucency, means that is only involving the crown of the unerupted tooth, and here in this case is the mandibular third molar. Now, the next cyst that we will be discussing is the lateral periodontal cyst. Now, lateral periodontal cyst is again a developmental odontogenic cyst, and it arises from the rest of the dental lamina. Now, the dental lamina is also called as the rest of the series and usually found along the lateral root surface of a tooth. Again, the most common location is the mandibular canine premolar area, and the lesions are usually painless. Radiographically, again, they are well circumscribed unilocular lesions, and the associated teeth are vital. Treatment is again enucleation. Now, if you would see in the radiograph, there is a teardrop-shaped radiolucency present in the mandible and between the canine and the premolar, guys. The next one we will be talking about is the odontogenic cyst. Very important topic, guys. From American Dental Board's point of view, you will definitely be getting a question, and the most common question that is always asked about odontogenic keratocyst is its association with the nevoid basal cell carcinoma or the Golling-Gault syndrome. Again, odontogenic keratocysts have a high recurrence rate, and that it can be as high as 30%. They mainly occur between the age group of 10 to 40 years old with a higher male predilection. And again, the main site is the posterior mandible, and they are again arise from the cell rest of the dental lamina, which is the cell rest of the series. They have an association with the impacted tooth, and it is 25 to 40% of the time. Clinically, they can be asymptomatic. However, the large cyst can have some symptoms like pain, swelling, and the drainage. Radiographically, they don't actually odontogenic keratocysts, they do not cause obvious bone expansion, and radiographically they are seen as a mixed unilocular or a multilocular radiolucency. I want to give you guys a little bit of information, guys, here that the impacted tooth can be associated with dentigerous cyst, odontogenic keratocyst, ameloblastoma, adenomatoid odontogenic tumor, or calcifying odontogenic cyst as well. But as I mentioned in the dentigerous cyst, that the cyst will be around the crown of the tooth, whereas in ameloblastoma or OKC, it can involve the whole impacted tooth as well. Now, in the next, let's about the Golling-Gault syndrome, guys. It is associated. There are certain symptoms that are found in this disease that I would like to mention to you guys, like basal cell carcinomas, epidermoid cyst of the skin, calcified falx cerebri, odontogenic keratocyst, mild ocular hypertolerism. These are just a little bit about the nevoid basal cell carcinoma. And in the next slide, I just want to show you guys the radiographic appearance of the odontogenic keratocyst, and the treatment is enucleation and curettage. Curettage because the recurrence rate is very high, about 30%. Now, the next one we guys gonna be talking about is the radicular cyst or the periapical cyst. Again, I already mentioned when we were talking about the dentigerous cyst that dentigerous cyst is the second most common odontogenic cyst and radicular cyst is the most common odontogenic cyst. And the teeth associated with the radicular cyst are non-vital. And radiographically, they are usually asymptomatic. It can be identical to a periapical granuloma. A biopsy is needed to differentiate between the two lesions. Again, it appears as a rounded radiolucency at the apex of the affected tooth. Histologically, you guys can even see Ruston bodies and the cholesterol crests, and treatment is RCT with episectomy. Now, let's go ahead with the radiographic appearance of the radicular cyst. It appears as a rounded radiolucency at the apex of the non-vital teeth. So, any test that we will be doing will be negative. The last one we guys will be talking about is the residual cyst. Now, residual cyst is basically, it refers to a situation in which a tooth with a radicular cyst associated with was extracted, but the cyst was not removed or curated out of the socket. So on a radiograph, you guys will see only the cyst and there is no tooth in the jaw. Radiographically, it appears as a round or oval radiolucency at the site of a previous tooth extraction. Now, that was all for today, guys, about the odontogenic cyst. In the next video that I will be uploading, we will discuss a little bit about the pseudocyst or the fake cyst. And I have already uploaded 3 questions just for a practice test, so you guys can have an idea what kind of questions come in the exam, and you guys can solve these as well after the whole video. Now, let's solve the first question. It is, what is the most probable syndrome affecting a 9-year-old patient with a history of 3 keratocyst odontogenic tumors? We already talked about odontogenic keratocyst and the nevoid basal cell carcinoma or the Golling-Gault syndrome, in which we said that there is an association and it occurs in children. And I already told you a little bit symptoms about the nevoid basal cell carcinoma, like multiple odontogenic keratocyst, multiple basal cell carcinomas. We talked about calcified falx cerebri and hypertolerism and all that stuff. So the answer is nevoid basal cell carcinoma. Now, the second question is, the radicular or the root end cyst occur as a result of. Now, here we are talking about the radicular cyst. And I already mentioned in the slides as well that the associated teeth are non-vital, and any test that we will be performing on the tooth will be negative. So means there is pulp necrosis happening. So the answer for question 2 is 2. Now, the last question for today is, the dentigerous cysts are usually found periapically, pericoronally, interradiculary, or midroot. I already mentioned in my first slide only that dentigerous cysts are associated around with the unerupted tooth around the crown of the unerupted tooth. So the radiolucency is pericoronally. So the answer is again number 2. Hopefully this was all very helpful to you guys today. I hope you guys were able to understand odontogenic cyst a little bit better today, and I hope these practice questions were a little bit of more help to you guys. You guys can even follow me on Instagram under INBD Twitter, where I keep on posting lots of practice questions if you guys wish to practice more. I also give tuitions to lots of students for who are preparing for INBD exam. If you guys wish to go ahead with that as well, you guys can contact me. And if there is any questions that you guys have, please feel free to comment in the comment section. I will be uploading shortly a new video about the cyst and the pseudocyst. So best of luck to all the students who are appearing for the exam anytime soon. Have a good day. Bye.